All right, so we are live. It says going live right now. We're so glad that you're here today. Welcome to What's Next? What's Next? Building the Black economy. I am your host, Viva, and I'm so happy to represent HAVENOUS and to be here with Love ABE, as well as to be here with these phenomenal panelists that we have. We hope that you enjoy this webinar. We hope that you find just the information that you need and connect with those individuals who are like-minded. Just running down to who we have here on the agenda. Again, I'm the founder of HAVENOUS. My name is Viva. And with HAVENOUS, we discover, we test, as well as we produce digital videos for people of color products that are great for you. And so make sure that when we have this discussion that we really focus on how we can better our Black economy. A quote that I love by Toni Morrison I'll share with you is, "I dream a dream that dreams back at me. I dream a dream that dreams back at me." And that resonates so much with us because you want to dream dreams that will reflect back to you. And so in an economy, in a state that we're in at this moment, a lot of those dreams are deferred. A lot of those dreams are not being able to flourish because of things that are systematic, that are so much under our control, but at the same time needs to be shaken and changed by the people. And so Love ABE and HAVENOUS presents What's Next? Building the Economy. We made it our mission to celebrate and elevate people of color and Black businesses. I want to run down the agenda for you, but before I start that, because this is a meeting, because this is a town hall, before I start, I want to say to you, there was a story that was shared with me personally, and I'm so grateful that it was shared. But I know many of you struggle in the same way. A young lady who, I met, and I hope she's okay with me sharing this story, but a young lady who I was introduced to is a business owner. And she told me during this time, she struggled so much just to be able to fulfill her products. She was actually on the Beyonce.com list. And with that, she got an influx of so many orders to a point where it just made her physically, emotionally sick. And just, she felt as if it was too much. And I know many of you out there feel as if it's too much. It's a burden that we should not bear alone. It's a burden that has been put on many of us that was not even designed and created for us. And so tonight, as your host, I just want to take you around and talk to the panelists that we have and introduce you to them. We're going to open up the floor for you to ask questions. If you see that in your actual platform, you can actually see that you can raise your hand or, chat with folks, get involved. This night is about action. This night is just really the tip of the iceberg for us to start the conversation, for us to take what we're learning tonight and the solutions that we have and build from there. And I'm just happy to be here, y'all. I really am. I'm excited. Just to let you know who we have tonight. We have a list of folks starting from Love ABE, Kaisha Key, who is our author of a wonderful article that was produced, but then she does so much more in the creative space. And we also have our panelists here, Dr. Nikki Brooks Sievers, who is, part of the Beads and Butter podcast, as well as she owns a phenomenal product line, which I love, Zen in a Jar. And we also want to turn it in because we cannot leave the guys out. We know that the Black women businesses are booming right now. But hey, we have this artist, this guy who's just been rocking around town from north to south to east to west. We have the artist Carrie Michael on here. And, we're so thankful to have each of them. And so, adding on to that, we will have another panelist on here, Regina M. Tucker, and she is the creative director of Prune Skin and Beauty. She's in the services business, and just to have a roundtable that's full, from the creative businesses to those who have services to those who produce products. We all have a story. We all are, in it together. Either you're purchasing from them as a consumer or you're starting your own brand. This conversation is for you. This conversation is something that should have been done many, many years ago, but here we are today. So I'm excited just to jump into it. I'm going to introduce you first to, I call her Kai, but to Kaisha. She is the curator of Love ABE. Kaisha is in San Francisco Bay Area based photo stylist, experienced in prop styling, wardrobe styling, laydowns, pinups, and soft goods. She is the founder of Love ABE, a curated multimedia platform that utilizes highly stylized imagery, visual storytelling to help people discover, engage with Black, and support Black creatives and Black-owned businesses around the world. So I want to just ask, jumping into it, I want to ask Kaisha some questions. We're going to go to the roundtable. And so before we go into the roundtable, the agenda is we do a roundtable, then we do open it up to the floor, and then we will make sure that you have some actionable items at the end. And so, Kaisha, can you hear me, Kai?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that you're on. And so, Kai, the questions that we have, it's so many things that we can discuss tonight. But first, before I go into the questions, I want you to kind of say a word about who you are, because you are my partner in this phenomenal platform that we have. And so I want you to formally introduce yourself, and then I'll go into the questions that I have for you.
Okay, yeah, sure. I think you covered a lot of it. Excuse me. I have a background in photo styling. I also have a background in image consulting. And I, a while ago, decided to begin to translate that into Love ABE. A long time ago, maybe I've actually been working on this very quietly, like not quietly to my circle, but quietly to the world for a number of years now. And for me, it started when I actually was starting an e-commerce site many years ago. And I was really specifically looking for Black-owned businesses to add to the site, and I was finding it really difficult. And so I started doing a lot of research, and the research kind of led me to a place where I not only started looking at Black businesses in the US, but I started looking at Black businesses around the world, because I started to realize that the problem that we have around Black businesses having less visibility than other businesses is definitely a huge problem in the US, but it's also a global problem. And I think that the diaspora, we are literally all over the world, and we are so divided in so many ways that we don't see each other, but other people don't see us as well. And so Love ABE, when I first started it really just started like an online search thing. And then I actually started traveling because I wanted to really experience these businesses in other Black cultures. And so over the course of it's been honestly about 6 years, I've been able to create a database now of over 4,000 Black creatives from all over the world. And so I am using everything that I found. I've found so many amazing companies, so many amazing brands, and so many amazing people behind the brands. And I'm really excited to begin to synthesize that and style it and present it to people in really editorial ways. And I think that that's the biggest point of difference for what I'm doing with Love Abe. There are a lot of lists of Black-owned businesses, but I would really like to begin to normalize the presence of products created by Black entrepreneurs just in general. First of all, I do want to focus on us, but I want to make sure that we're really starting to be included in the mainstream more. And I think the best approach to that is to actually help people visualize how they can see these products in their life and in their lifestyle versus seeing them on the list. So
yeah, no, that's incredible. I know we've had several discussions about this, and I'm sure many of you out there are on the same wave of feeling the same way. And so, you know, as a writer, as a creative, what image would you like to leave behind? Like, what is the narrative that is most important in this history of time?
That's like such a big question, and I really do love that question. I'm also just going to let you guys know I'm going to put my website in the sticky notes so you guys can actually go and see, and then I'll change it back. But I think the second half of that question is the one that's like most important to me in this moment. When I think about the narrative, one of the things that travel really helped me to realize is how much narratives shape our life and our lives. And when I really started to understand the world outside of the US, I started to understand what the narrative in the US is and how it's so informed by racism. And thankfully, that's no longer, or it's starting to become less of a shock to other people. But this narrative was not created by us, but it affects everyone's life. And so I think the most important thing about the current narrative is that it's something that we are able to shape and write collectively versus something that we had no voice in creating. You know, like we have one of the most beautiful things about us being in the digital age is that the records that are being made now can't really be erased the way that they have been historically. And so
they can't be burned like in, you know, Timbuktu and the rest of the places in the world.
Right. Can't be burned, can't be deleted. And to me, as difficult as this moment is on many levels, that alone is something for me to be optimistic about. Because we are getting to so much truth, and the truth can't be refuted. The records will be there. So,
I hear you on that. I guess, like, what are common misconceptions people have about the African American economic state? Like, what are some misconceptions that are out there that, you know, people are not knowledgeable about, or they feel that, you know, the term lazy or any of those things, you know, that has been heard, right? Let's be honest, we're being unfiltered today.
There's so many. You know, like I was able to look at these questions a little bit, and even now, walking into this, I still wasn't really able to decide which misconceptions bother me the most. But, you know, exactly like you said, there is a very unfair cloud or like perception that Black businesses are inherently inferior. And that enrages me because we don't really talk about, and that's what we're getting to tonight, and that's what we're getting to and what we've been getting to for the past couple of weeks, but we don't really talk about what it takes to actually be a Black entrepreneur and how different that looks for Black people. And how, if you don't have, number one, a lot of Black entrepreneurs are actually pushed into entrepreneurship because they're
Yes.
not promoted at work. They're not recognized at work. Their work is not valued. They are not paid properly. A lot of Black people in the workplace are policed. Their tone is policed, body language is policed. And when you don't really recognize how that affects you mentally and emotionally, you don't really have ways to articulate it. And so you think of other solutions. And for a lot of people, that's entrepreneurship. But entrepreneurship is really hard, and people don't talk about that. And when you don't have resources, you can't provide, or I won't say that you can't, but it is extremely difficult to provide a certain level of service. And one of my biggest frustrations is that people feel like Black-owned businesses are lucky to be getting their money. And take that same energy. Yes. And so there's already this dynamic of like, you should be happy that I'm even here. But a lot of people will put up with other things from other businesses and expect just like a certain level of something without even contributing. Like what do you actually contribute to the business? Obviously your money is a contribution, but like if you're already walking in with an attitude towards the business owner and these misconceptions, you're actually setting the tone for the experience yourself, whether you realize it or not. So, the energy that you give is the energy that you give back. And obviously we all have had experiences, not just with Black-owned businesses, but with other businesses. But a lot of it has to do with what you bring when you walk through the door. So.
Yeah, I agree. And just to kind of cap it off, I guess, one of the things I want to say is like, going back to what you were saying, how would we combat those misconceptions? Like, how do we communicate more effectively to make sure that those misconceptions, we nip it in the bud and make sure that it doesn't happen in the future for those who are behind us,
Yeah. I think a big thing that we talk about, I'm sorry, an echo, I don't know. Something that we've discussed a lot, Viva, is helping people, again, really understand what it means to be a Black business owner. In the piece that I wrote for your site, I really wanted to focus on data and less on like anecdotal information, because data can be, numbers don't lie. But
yeah,
I mean, they rarely do, but really helping people to understand, some of the stats in the article were about how Black women-owned businesses make, and I'm trying to pull it up, but, non-Black women-owned businesses make $142,000 on average in annual revenue versus Black women-owned businesses that make $24,000, right? So if you don't really factor in like the human side of what's happening behind those numbers, then you can't really actually be supportive to Black businesses. So I think one way to open communication is number one, to have a little bit more empathy and understanding and patience. And again, treat people like humans, and behave yourselves. Give constructive feedback and really ask what you can do to help instead of constantly criticizing. So
yeah. Well, thank you for that, Kai. We will definitely bring you back for the Q&A, but we want to move on to our next panelist, Dr. Nikki Brooks Sievers. If you can just unmute yourself, and I'll just give them a warm welcome of Nikki. Dr. Nikki Brooks Sievers is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and co-host of Beads and Better Entrepreneur podcast from Washington, D.C. All right, Washington, D.C. Dr. Nikki is also focused on the importance of self-care. Through her business, Zen in a Jar, she creates ways for women to have access to luxury experiences for the mind, body, and space, with an emphasis on the power of aromatherapy. Dr. Nikki's primary focus in her personal and professional life is community, creativity, and collaboration. She strives daily to align her work with those core values. So welcome, Dr. Nikki. How are you? Oh, I think we can't hear you. Let's see. Your audio may be off. Try again. Okay. Well, we don't want to waste any time because we want to make sure that everyone's there. Carrie, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. So while Dr. Nikki is getting her audio together, we're going to make sure that we kind of move forward. But I want to introduce Carrie. We'll go back to, it was a wonderful welcome with Dr. Nikki. But Carrie Michael is an artist. Carrie Michael is a native of Mobile, Alabama, and currently resides in Washington, D.C. He earned his BS in Fine Arts from Florida A&M University, where he was founder and president of FAMU Fine Arts Society and graphic artist for Mary Brogan Museum Art and Science. Carrie devotes his free time to developing his startup artist collective, Art Based Society. His artwork has been featured in the 2016 BET Awards, Harlem Fine Arts Show, African American Civil War Museum, and various other exhibits at venues throughout the Washington, D.C. metro area, New Jersey, New York, Alabama, and Florida. And so, Carrie, we welcome you today. And how are you doing? How are you thriving during this time?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a struggle, but I feel like I've been doing my best to use this time to be as creative as possible. So it's been a gift and a curse, but I'm maintaining. Yeah.
I hear that. So just jumping into it, as a Black man, as an African man in these United States, and a visual artist, what do you believe has been your greatest resource towards elevating your brand?
I believe my best resource has been my community of clients, supporters, other artists, people who believed in me and stood behind my back and continue to drive me. Being a black man in America has its own sets of challenges. And me, I happen to grow up I consider myself a part of the middle class. I had a mother and father at home. They had decent jobs. But I can relate to colleagues of mine who grew up in poverty and couldn't afford to go to different schools they wanted to go to. But even growing up in the middle class, I was still told that I wouldn't be able to thrive and get a real career as an artist. But when God gives you a vision, you can't really listen to what everybody else has to say. You kind of have to, listen to your own innate ability and just kind of go for it. So even though being an artist was frowned upon, even from my own family members, these were the things that actually drove me. Being a black man, being an artist, those drove me to kind of take my platform. So as an educated black man and having the ability to produce artwork that derives from my personal experiences, life experiences, to other people who look just like me, who might be in that position where they're young and they don't know what they want to do, or they want to be an artist, but they're scared because of how they might be perceived, or things of that nature. It's important for me to use my platform to provide a space for other artists to thrive and for people in general to become inspired. And so as a result, I found that having just a strong community of supporters and like-minded individuals contributed to my growth, and that's why I created Art Bay. And so, like Viva kind of mentioned, Art Bay stands for art before anything else, and we are an artist collective that encourages people to live their purpose through their passion, using their gifts, whatever your gifts are, whether it's a gift for modeling, a gift for counseling, anything like that. And Art Bay started as an idea, but because of the support from my community, we developed it into a business, and now it's becoming a social enterprise where our core values are arts, education, entertainment, and advocacy. And so what we do, we receive funds, but we give those funds back into the community. And so we like to provide these dope experiences that stem from, art shows to like sipping paints to like culinary art experiences. And these client relationships that we build as a result of what we do help, help build and sustain our community. And then people become brand advocates. So the more we do in the community, the more the word gets around and people learn about us. And so, just operating through this platform is what I think allows people to become advocates of my brand. And so that's what I have to say about that.
Can you also hear me? Yes, can you hear me? I had some technical difficulties. Did you all hear me? If you can just put your thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I was like, what just happened? You know what? This whole working from home, all of this, we got to get back to some type of normal. Lord. Okay, well, thank you, Carrie. So, one of the next questions, let me just hurry up and get into, what do you believe are the obstacles many artists continue to face, many Black artists continue to face at this time? For those who are artists out there, and being an artist is a business. Carrie can be proof of that. And so even though you're still creating a product for someone. So what do you believe is the biggest obstacle for Black artists?
Yes, I'm going to answer that. I see people saying that I'm too close to the mic. I don't know where my mic is. I just know that I'm speaking, but hopefully you all can understand me.
Are you able to just turn the volume down on your computer, maybe?
Let me see.
Because I don't want to kick him off. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so worried about this. But can you hear us, Carrie? Okay. The configuring here. Yeah, everyone's kind of battling for internet space. But if you can hear me, just it looks like your video was turned off, but I'll just ask, if you can just answer the question, and then maybe, it looks like he got kicked off as well. So Dr. Nikki Brooks Sievers, we're back to you. And, I gave you a warm introduction earlier, but I also want to just ask you questions about your business.
Sorry, guys. It looks like we lost Viva. Nikki, I'm so sorry to interrupt you once again and interrupt your introduction, but I would love to let Carrie finish his thought. And then I think that we'll talk to you really soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. All right. So Viva asked, what do I believe are the obstacles that Black artists have to face? So me as a Black artist who has a Bachelor of Science in Fine Arts from Florida A&M University and a Master's from Savannah College of Art and Design, I had two separate experiences. At FAMU, a lot of my colleagues were under-resourced. They didn't receive funding. They couldn't afford supplies. So in turn, they dropped out of the program and didn't finish their degree. Once I finished, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and that was a whole different experience. Coming from an environment where you're surrounded by other African American men and women who are, pursuing artistry, to being the only African American in your classes. Of course, there were other Blacks, but most of them were from, the Caribbean and other places. But I received a small scholarship, but my primary funding was from a loan, and I had to work and pay my way through school. And it was rough. But then you had a lot of my white and Asian counterparts, they had full scholarships, new cars. I had a different experience. So just being in both environments, and when I graduated and got out of school, I noticed that, especially moving to DC, that unfortunately the struggling artist narrative is perpetuated and repeated. And so many artists I come across, they're super talented. A lot of them are self-taught, but they honestly don't have either they don't have the time or the resources to produce their art. They're working 9 to 5s and then getting off work, working 5 to 9s or even later. That was my story for a while. Or most commonly, I'll encounter a lot of artists who just don't have the business acumen that's needed to thrive. They don't know how to secure or negotiate contracts. They're social media sensations. They have thousands of followers, but these followers doesn't translate to dollars. They're making artwork, they're going viral, they're in the New York Times, but because they don't have the acumen or the required level of professionalism, oftentimes their work doesn't receive the proper credit. They don't get the proper equity or compensation for their work. So yeah, I even heard about a recent incident with murals. There was a town hall meeting that I heard about where they were giving a bunch of the big dollars in these, white communities for their artists to paint murals. And then you have, a black person will have a dream, a dope idea, but all they're afforded is bragging rights. They can write their hashtag on their social media followers will increase. It's just not fair, to kind of pour your talent out and not, get credited. And I see that a lot, with black artists. It's very unfortunate, but I just know a lot of black artists who never get the chance and who never get to break into the networks that are needed to expand their sales.
Okay. Can you all? Am I loud?
Yes.
Okay.
You're not loud.
Okay. Last question. Give an example of a time when you had to explain a complex issue about art and race to someone who was unfamiliar about the topic.
So yeah, this question kind of struck a nerve because I have to reflect back to my experience in 2017. After the passing of my father, I decided to just get back into my artistry. I took a break for a while. I decided to pursue an artist fellowship with a prominent local arts agency. I had a review. This is my first time applying for a grant. I had a review with the grants counselor. They highly recommended I submitted my artwork entitled Hope, and that's an acronym for highly optimistic and powerfully efficient, because they said it best represented my evolution as an artist. So after my artwork was reviewed and accepted, I got high praises for the work. They had a group exhibition with all the applicants of the grant. So I was notified by the curator, all my work's been accepted. We're gonna get it hung up and everything. A couple of days after that, the same, young lady who was the curator, who happens to be an African American female, went back and said that my work could no longer be exhibited because it was proving to be too disturbing to the general public. And so I was kind of like, okay, what does that mean? So I requested clarity. I'm like, all right, who made the decision? It didn't seem like it was coming from her. She sounded like a puppet almost. And so I was like, well, what does this mean? So I was followed back up with the fact that, while my artwork contains heartfelt statements of perseverance and transcendence above unjust slaughter, this particular work exceeded the threshold of violence that can be displayed in the gallery. And so for me, I just felt a couple ways about it. I was like, all right, I appreciate the behind the scenes praise for the work, but I disagree with placing thematic and content limitations on artists' creativity. And I'm like, all right, how are you going to tell me to pick a work that best represents me, but then tell me that, it's not going to be received well? And I'm like, all right, why is the contingency of my acceptance dependent upon public perception? And who is the general public? Is it the white public? Is it the black public? Who am I offending with my artwork? So not only was I disappointed, but I was confused. I was like, why is my artwork being silenced? I don't think artwork should be silenced. And I did my homework. They had a previous exhibit at the same, place, the same gallery. They had a previous exhibit that I attended that was called Is Separate Ever Equal? So I wanted to go and do research to make sure my artwork fell within the confinements of their stipulations. I was like, all right, I see, very graphic, violent pieces. And so, it's just stuff like that, these types of restrictions kind of contradict what art actually is, and it doesn't allow the artist to speak their truth. And so for me, I just think the panel, they need to pick a more diverse panel. or a panel that's familiar with the topic of blackness, because not only did this piece like represent my evolution as an artist, it spoke to my own personal experiences as a black person, and it was an honest representation of what we as black people experience every day. And
Yeah, yeah.
so, yeah, that's my take on that.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. No, that's incredible. So all of you who are on this town hall and your artists out there, I hope you receive something, in what Carrie said, because your art is as if you're a singer, if you're a dancer. It's what's expressed in your being. And so for someone to shackle your being and to make you feel that you're less than, or maybe you don't like the way that you express yourself, that, and like they say, an artist is sensitive about their stuff. And so it hits the nerve so much when you pour so much into what you do, into something. And art forms are in different ways, but when you pour yourself into something and someone tells you, and especially that someone who has never ever had a conversation or a deep dive conversation about your own personal experience, how can they tell you how to express yourself? And so, those are the things that we're talking about. So I really hope that you took words from Carrie. And now that we have internet service, we're going to go back to Dr. Nikki Brooks Severs and just quickly, if you want to just tell us how you're doing, sis. How are you doing out there?
I'm doing awesome. I'm navigating these technology challenges, but I'm very happy to be here. I really am. Is there a delay or any issue with my audio before I keep going?
You're good.
Okay, awesome.
I was just going to ask, sorry, Nikki, if you can speak up, and Carrie, if you can mute out again.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. How's
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
So yeah, just tell us, how you're doing right now. Are you, I know we're all busy women, but you've had so much going on that we've seen in your product-based business.
Yeah, things are insane, manageable insane. I have experienced another level of growth recently, but just to back up a little to what we were talking about in the beginning about I believe you knew the entrepreneur that was featured on the Beyonce website and how they were basically freaking out. I had an experience like that in, I want to say 2018, where I was featured by a podcaster. She did an IG story, and she came across the product, and all of a sudden I got all these followers and all these people on my website, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can make all these things. And long story short, that is when I learned that I wasn't prepared as a one-woman show to handle that level of visibility. And after that, I learned I have to just keep things. Oh, that's Viva. Okay. So yeah, I learned that I have to do things within reason as far as what I can handle, and not fall into the hype of the traffic and the newfound attention as people discover the brand. I'll just wait a second for Viva to come back.
Let's see. So how did you, what did you do in that situation? Did you just push through and fulfill the orders, or did you, I mean, I don't recall if Viva actually mentioned this, but one of the saddest things that happened in that story was that this particular entrepreneur actually had to give refunds to people because she just could not handle fulfilling the orders. And again, that is so devastating to a business because you just don't know if you'll ever recover from that just as a brand. So how did you handle that?
That's a great question, and I can speak to that experience more than once, unfortunately. Well, I reframe the way that I receive that. I look at those experiences as very important lessons learned. So back when that first happened, I didn't do a bunch of refunds. I just had some serious shipping delays. So like I'm posting that I've got 300 bottles of this body honey available and I haven't made it yet. So when I do this big sale for something I'm used to just making and getting out the door, one of my suppliers is out of the fig that goes in that. And so people have paid me for this particular thing. I don't know when I'm going to get the element that goes in there. And so that was embarrassing. There were a lot of tears. My group chat was full of a lot of just, woe is me, I don't want to do this anymore. But the other thing I had was a cushion of my day job. I hadn't left my day job just yet. So even recently, I did a big like Cyber Monday sale, and I had been planning this thing. I was so ready. I've been planning since this time last year. So I had all my ducks in a row, and still things fell through the cracks, and I did a significant amount of refunds that time. It hurt. It was very embarrassing, but I had to pick myself up. I didn't hide from it. I was very transparent with my customers. Most of my customers are like long-term and have been riding with me on this journey. I always share, like if I mess up, if something is my fault, I share it with the customer and I let them make the decision. Do you still want the product, or would you like a refund? What makes you happiest? I have a non-combative policy when it comes to that. But what I did this time around was I just stopped everything. I'm not coming from a place of trying to get rich. Like Zen in the Jar is really my baby, right? So I have to treat it with respect. So when things went haywire with this last rush a few months ago, I stopped receiving orders, and I went back to school. I did some research online to find out, like, how can I better myself as an entrepreneur? Because that's the other thing we have to do in terms of the best presentation of ourselves as entrepreneurs. Like in the beginning where you were saying about, you know, the stigma that comes with being a Black entrepreneur and how people like look at you out the gate. So I went to Cornell for this Women in Leadership program that really helps you hone your skills and identify your weaknesses and areas of improvement as far as entrepreneurship go. That really helped me. And also therapy, consistently going to therapy also helped me through it. Because the thing is, and I don't want to run on too long about this, but to be an entrepreneur, the first thing you have to do is you have to distinguish whether or not this is your passion or if you are just trying to make some money real quick. Both things are fine, but to succeed as an entrepreneur, especially where we are in the culture right now, if it's not your passion, it won't work. So you have to make sure that your passion project or your business is aligned with your core values. Like, for example, I've always liked things that smell good. I've always gifted perfumes, like since I was little. I also know that gifts are my love language, and that feeds a lot into my business, and it's how I'm able to enjoy it, even when the days are very rough or I receive scathing emails and, you know, things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I hope I'm back. It's just always changing. You know, okay, so you kind of answered a few questions through that. And just to kind of wrap up and say, can you describe the change you would like to see in the beauty industry?
Twofold. Okay. So what I'd love to is this becoming more normalized and not feeling like such a special project in stores, like a special area or, you know, a boutique experience. I would like for us to become more of the norm. And the second half of that is that in our industries, I'm gonna speak for body care. It is extremely, like it's oversaturated. And I think that what we can do on our end as entrepreneurs is figure out which problem we're solving, and that's how we can start to differentiate ourselves from each other. When I was in school, when we had to choose our dissertation topic, one of the most important things was, okay, you review the literature and see what's out there when you have your area of interest, right? And then you find a problem that hasn't yet been solved. So, you know, you may see a butter brand that you like or a candle brand that you like, but think about what's missing from that, what you can do that's different, and then rock with it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And just, telling your story, I think just the nuggets, the bit of information that you gave us about how you had obstacles, you had situations, you're in the storm right now with all of these orders that are coming through, like you're in the midst of the storm. But at the same time, I mean, that's what we're talking about. One of the things we're talking about is because it is, and I love the quote that Kai said, it is, pretty much it is a tsunami right now, when we really only ask for, a glass of water. And so it's just, just to have something to sip on, and, you're just throwing it all on us. And the best thing I can say about what you just mentioned is the fact that, like, how you said you kind of manage it through. And it took time to manage, but this is a great way for the entrepreneurs out there to kind of figure the strategies that are working for them. Don't feel discouraged if you do, we don't want refunds. We don't want you to refund because it is a resource, but we understand that having a level of customer service when they already think that Black businesses do not have great customer service. So being in that position of feeling that, if you give a refund, it's bad customer service. It may be something that is, it's definitely temporary. Communicate with your, customers. Exactly what Dr. Nikki said. Communicate with your customers. Make sure that they know what's going on. If you're if you're having shipping issues, say I'm having shipping issues, send out the email. Make sure that they get it, because I think the main thing is there are delays in this environment of us having a pandemic and dealing with, the systematic issues that we have in the United States. The post office, everybody's overwhelmed. So the best thing you can do to keep up your customer service level is just communication, and ask for patience, ask them for grace. And even if you're a customer and you don't have a business, give grace and patience. This is something that, and I hope that I'm still on here because it's telling me I'm having issues. But if I get cut off, this is something that we know that needs to be resolved. And just starting from product-based businesses, it's going to be something that I know many of you resonate with. And so the next panelist that we have, the next panelist is, and I want to introduce her, Regina, if you can hear us. I know she's been back and forth with her issues as well. So Regina, if you can hear us, just let us know that you're there. Turn your microphone on. But I'm not sure if you can see her again. I just want to introduce Regina because she's phenomenal. Regina M. Tucker is a leading master licensed esthetician serving in the Mid-Atlantic region for over 10 years. She is an advocate in skin health amongst women and men of color and passionate about educating audiences on the importance of taking care of their skin. Regina has worked with luxury spas such as the W Hotel, the Watergate Hotel, as well as the Red Door by Elizabeth Arden. Regina is currently the creative director of Prune Skin and Beauty in Lanham, Maryland. I think she just messaged me and she said she tried, she said, keep going. So, life happens, and she said, keep going. We want to make sure that we get that information about, Regina. Unfortunately, because of technical difficulty, she wasn't able to join us at this time. But if she pops on later, if we hear her, we'll definitely allow her to speak. Right now, we're, gearing up to be almost 10 p.m. And I want to pretty much go and kind of circle back with the roundtable and ask, starting with Kai. Kai, if you can just close out some thoughts for us before we open it up to the floor, and just let them know it's time to vent. It's really time to vent. And so I'm going to ask each of the panelists the same question, but what are your thoughts on the current events, and what is one solution you believe will sustain the Black economy? Now, we talked about this, Kai. We know it's many. I'm just asking you for one. I'm just asking you for one. Everyone just gives one, and I'm sure there's tons of people who are watching right now who has their own solutions. But if you can give you yours from your background, from who you are as well.
Okay. Definitely speak to that. But really quickly, I just wanted to circle back to something that Nikki said and also something that Carrie said, just really quick. I wanted to thank you, Nikki, for sharing your story with us. I think that also as entrepreneurs in general, but specifically like Black entrepreneurs, we don't talk about the moments of failure enough and how emotional that can be for us, and how, again, resources aren't always just money, but having networks and communities who understand and can actually help us through that, because failure can be very devastating, but it is also a really big part of entrepreneurship that people don't talk about, is that you fail a lot before you actually succeed. And the problem for Black entrepreneurs specifically is that we have very little room for error. So we are not forgiven in the same ways for when we fail. And I think that that is another thing that we need to discuss. If you have an entrepreneur in your life, please be supportive, please be understanding. It takes a special personality, everything. And it can be devastating. And I also am so happy that you brought up therapy, because mental health, taking care of your mental health in general, is hugely important, especially right now. So if you're able to, please go to therapy. We are all processing so much. This is just levels on levels on levels of like uncertainty, and that is very difficult to navigate. But I'm so happy to hear that you were able to go to therapy to help you work through being an entrepreneur, because like I said, it is hard. And then I also wanted to speak to something that Carrie said when he was talking about, when you were talking about, Carrie, your experience in school and how different it was for you versus some of your peers who were driving new cars and all of the stuff. And again, helping people to understand, when we say that things are unfair, we are not. It is so real. It is so different to have to work full time while you pursue your passion. Like so many Black entrepreneurs, there are so many entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs, but so many don't even get to focus on what it is, their dream, full time. And this can, again, go on for years where you're doing something else and you're not really able to give your all, your energy to your project. And it's hard to be successful under those circumstances. And it looks like we lost Beaver right when I was going to ask her what the question was, because I went on a bit of a mini tangent. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about solutions, and we're talking about the resources that we need. And one of some of the resources that I also spoke about in the piece that I wrote were we absolutely need for sales to continue, but maybe we need for there to be a little bit more planning around your purchases. We do need patience. Maybe, and the holidays are coming up. You don't have to buy everything from Black businesses right now. The holidays are coming up. Love ABE is, shameless plug, curating options for you for the holidays. You can definitely reach out and take the survey on our site and let us know what things you would be interested in finding out about. But some of the other things that I talked about in the article or resources are like making sure that you hold banks accountable when they don't properly fund Black businesses, when they practice predatory and extractive lending, when they, definitely focus on financial institutions that actually do contribute to the community. one of the things that I loved about the Black banks that I listed is that they're very transparent about where their money goes. There was one, I can't remember, but they said that their employees do not travel by private jet. And I think that we don't, and also they have a cap on how much can be spent on entertaining clients and gift buying. And as a consumer, that's important to me because where is my money going? You know, and if I'm depositing, if I am giving the bank my money and they're using it for investments, I would like to know where those investments go. So we do have to talk about divesting and investing in proper places. And we also, you know, there is a list of solutions. If you can't buy from a Black business owner, continue to promote them, talk about them, amplify them, share them with your networks, direct people to them. If you are, you know, if you have something that you can offer in the form of mentorship, show up, ask them what they need. If you like what they're doing, just be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I don't know how I can fit into this, but let me know how I can support, and listen to them and show up. If you ask them what they need, show up.
Yeah, I hear you, Seth, on that. I mean, everything that you just said is 100% show up. That's the main thing. Show up in some way, and show up is an action to do something about it, you know, is where we are. You can talk about it, but to show up is going to be the main thing. And so asking Carrie, it's time to vent. What are your thoughts on the current events, and what is one solution you believe will sustain the Black economy?
My thoughts, you know, while all of this is very tragic and sad, what's going on in the world, I just realized that the more things change, the more things also stayed the same. And it's really sad and unfortunate that it took for a pandemic to occur to get people to realize that Black Lives Matter. I mean, because, you know, everyone's quarantined, they don't have anything else to focus on but, you know, the racial issues that we're experiencing. But my thing is, I hope that it's just, I hope it's not a fad. You know, I don't want people to get, I see a lot of people getting on board with Black Lives Matter because they feel like it's the cool or the right thing to do, or because it's trending on social media, or, you know, are these people really supporting Black businesses just, you know, because they care, or are they just doing it just to say that they, you know, they're doing it and to post it on social media and stuff like that. And so, you know, I too have been overloaded with orders. Like, this has been, in all my career as an artist, this has been the, you know, most I've ever, you know, the most orders I've ever received without promoting myself. There was some artwork I had archived on my website. I didn't think people can get to it, and people were just buying it. I'm just like, I'm like, I have to dig and make sure I still have it. But you know, I appreciate the support. I just want to make sure it's really coming from a genuine place. And you know, I too have been overloaded. So, you know, I want to encourage our consumers to be understanding. To, you know, our culture is so quick to cancel people. You know, if you get, you know, if your order's messed up, or if you know, I put, you know, 3 pieces of art in there instead of the 5 you ordered. You know, people are so quick to cancel you and you know, throw you under the bus. But I also want to encourage business owners to do what you have to do to represent your brand and protect your brand. You know, I commend Dr. Nikki for, you know, taking the time to say, hey, I'm not accepting any orders right now. I got to take a step back to regroup, because you want to keep making sure that you're being consistent and delivering a consistent product and preserving the quality of your products and your brand. So, you know, you have to do what you have to do to ensure that you're representing yourself. And so my personal solution goes back to what I said about the community being the greatest resource. And so I want to, you know, encourage people to do what you can to give back to the community. And so me as an artist, I want to continue to use my platform to create a space for Black artists to continue to share their talents through Art Bay, and hopefully, you know, them sharing their talent will translate into them changing the world. And you know, even, you know, my mind as an artist, I'm solution oriented. So I created a curriculum series that I'm looking to hopefully get funding for, or to get it implemented in schools, where I want to teach artists the business acumen and take the experiences that I learned in my undergraduate studies, my graduate studies, that people may not be able to, you know, learn because they can't get into these schools. And I want to create a curriculum called Created to Create, And what it's going to focus on is infusing artistic concepts with life lessons. And so art is therapy. So I would start off with an art lesson, and then I would kind of follow up with a life lesson. For instance, like how to blend color versus how to blend in society. You know, how to be true to your own voice and influence society, and not be influenced by society and the shifting opinions that people kind of throw at you. And again, another part of the curriculum, coloring inside the lines versus coloring outside the lines. You know, how to create your own reality and create your own career path as an artist and think in a way that doesn't conform to, you know, the set rules. So artists create art. We can also create our own reality, like I said. So I want to challenge other artists to be proactive about contributing and giving back and creating. Don't wait until there's another life that's lost, unfortunately, or another hashtag to pop up, you know, to get inspired. You know, just be proactive. They often say that the black dollar leaves the community the soonest. So how do we reinvest in ourselves? How do we invest our dollars into ourselves, our businesses, and back into the community? And so I just want to, you know, encourage everybody to stay present, stay woke, stay relevant, and stay dope. That's all I have.
I love that. I love that. All right. So Dr. Nikki is going to wrap up the roundtable, and then we're going to go into a quick kind of ask me anything or a Q&A. There were some comments that were submitted during registration, so I wanted to share those as well. But I also wanted to hear from the audience their thoughts. So we're just going to ask Dr. Nikki, what are your thoughts on the current events, and what is one solution you believe will sustain the Black economy?
The current events are heartbreaking. I know I have personally been kind of in a bubble for some time, just focused on, like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, it's in a jar, yada, yada, yada. I have experienced a personal shift where my focus is on what's happening, these current events and the devastation to our community. So what I did was shift my business so that I can do fundraisers, because I can't be on the front line. I do fundraisers of products I know sell really fast and make those donations to, like, the bail funds and Breonna Taylor and things like that. And I'm sure to be transparent with my customer base to let them know that they're supporting by purchasing this product or this gift set. That's what I'm personally doing. And just, you know, to kind of put a bow on this piece of the conversation, this is really quick, like 20 seconds. I just had a couple of points to make to the entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, because the way we can continue to support the Black economy here and make or break ourselves, my focus is on what the entrepreneur side of that can do. All right, so number one is to do self-work. Number two is to leave your ego at the door. Number three is to educate yourself and be forever willing to learn. Number four is to delegate to experts. Get a money manager, somebody to do correspondence, and don't let super person syndrome run your business into the ground. Like, there's no prize for saying you did it all yourself. Number five, respect your customers. It's easy to go on the defense, but empathize with them and treat them with respect. They will make or break you. And lastly, do not focus on vanity metrics, followers and X amount of sales and all of that per month. It doesn't matter if your business is in shambles, you're not able to pay your people, or you know, your customers are having horrendous experiences with you. So you make $100,000 this month, but you know, your people don't get their products until like October. Don't focus on that. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's incredible. I think, you know, everything that you all said is just, you know, on point. I thank you for your participation. I thank you for your ideas. I thank you for lending your voices. I thank you for being a part of this conscious awakening of the economy and how we represent that. I thank you for just lending your voice as a voice of many voices out there. And I hope that everyone who is listening took a piece of their story and made it a part of your own. I did want to hear, you know, something from the audience, because I think there may be some questions through the chat. And Kai, I don't know if you can see the chat. I'm having internet issues, so I'll let you. If there are some questions in there, Kai, if you can just, ask questions. But before we jump into that, if you all are on and you have a question, please just put it in the Q&A part of the chat so that we can read those off. I'm not sure, maybe we can also bring you on even as an audio. We'll look at doing that. So if you want to speak, Rebecca, if you can hear me, if there's a point of anyone who's raising their hand who want to speak, let's see if we can bring them on. But just to answer some questions, or just to actually go from the registration that we had, there were a few people who mentioned some things, and I did want to let them know that we hear them. Jakia was saying that businesses understanding the importance of, the question was, submit questions or solutions for ways to build a Black economy. She puts, businesses understanding the importance of operations, customer service, and the importance of being organized. And so, we can say the customers do X, Y, and Z, but like this, you got to get your house together. You got to clean house. And I hope in the time that you were home, that you kind of got your systems and your processes intact, because you can't run a business if if your systems are not in place. And so if it's time for you to fulfill those orders, but don't have the structure that you need, that's a time for us to rethink so that you can build from there. That's the main thing. The next thing, Daria Fennell, she says, make a list of 5 Black-owned businesses to support monthly. Daria Fennell is the CEO of the Daria Fennell Media Group, a Black-owned PR, branding, publicity, writing, editing, and journalism company. Shana Winstead said, weekly buy Black days. So she wants to see weekly buy Black days, weekly boycott days. We have to make the economic impact on both sides. So there should be buy Black days, and there should also be boycott days, is what she's saying. Ebony Collins says, in perspective, what do you feel? And I'll ask, I'll ask Dr. Nikki this question. In perspective, what do you feel is the most important to branding an African-American business? And how did you implement that into putting your footsteps in the Black economy? That's from Ebony Collins.
Okay. Authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity. Mm-hmm.
I love.
I am myself, regardless of the space that I'm in or the space I'm trying to enter. And I offer authenticity and transparency in terms of like naming conventions for products and how things come about. I think that has a lot to do with my success in the Black economy.
Okay. And Dave Mylan says, where are good resources for finding business grants and marketing strategies that are sustainable? Kai, did you have an answer on that?
An answer on this?
The question was from Dave Mylan. She said, I'll present it to you. It says, where are good resources for finding business grants and marketing strategies that are sustainable? Is there any place that you would consider a good resource for finding grants and marketing strategies?
There isn't a specific resource, but in the piece that I wrote, I did list several organizations that do help Black businesses who are looking for funding. So I think that would be a good start. Definitely getting an idea of what, if anything, is happening in your city. I live here in Oakland, and we have several organizations that are dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurs find grants, find money. They actually provide the grants, and they also provide the support. So I would definitely try to find out if something like that exists where you live, because it is very helpful to have that in-person support and that in-person coaching. And even if you aren't quite at the level yet to where you're ready to receive grants or anything, having those types of resources helps you get there more quickly. And I do want to plug one of my favorites here in Oakland is actually the Runway Project. And they work with Black entrepreneurs, but not only in Oakland, I believe they're in New York as well and several other cities. So I would definitely, and I'll type that in the comments, I would look at the Runway Project and other organizations like them.
And if you're in the audience and you do have suggestions about that, make sure you put that in the chat so that people can copy and paste or write that information down. Just a comment from Isaiah Leeper. He says, hello, everyone. Actually, it's a question. I'll give it to Carrie. Hello, everyone. What collectives or organizations would you recommend for up and coming Black artists to follow, and any tips for building a social media presence?
Well, of course, shameless plug. I'm going to recommend Art Bay, which is a startup collective that I, started, and we've been successful in providing artists with opportunities to share their artwork in front of audiences. A lot of our artists, haven't had the time to showcase their artwork. They'll paint indoors, but they want to see how their artwork is perceived. So we provide various experiences for artists who have never presented their artwork in front of audiences. A great resource is the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. So they provide a lot of different workshops for artists. They provide a lot of seminars and things of that nature. They also bring in a lot of artists who, from different companies to kind of share their experiences. And they also have a grant program that I find to be, very helpful. I've got 2 grants from the DC Commission of the Arts. And thank you, Kaisa, for adding the Runway Project. Okay. And the organization is called DC Commission of the Arts and Humanities. I'll put that there, as well as Art Bay.
Okay. And just the final statement is, again, it says, submit questions or solutions for ways to build a Black economy. And a solution from Lakeisha Atkins, she says, commit to asking the question, can I purchase this product or service from a Black-owned business? First, ask family and friends for referrals, then reach out to a trusted online community. So that's one of the things, just to say, before, I think all of us, we need to just, in our minds, it should be something that we just say, before I go outside and purchase something, is there, and I shouldn't say outside, before I go and I find a commercial, you all understand what I'm saying. Before I find a commercial product, let me see if there's a product, even if it's in the store or even if it's online, that is Black owned. And that's how we circle that dollar back, right? That's the conscious decision that we have to make. It's that trigger. When I go to the store and I need laundry detergent, is there a actual Black owned brand that has laundry detergent? Simple things like that. When I need lotion or deodorant or whatever the basic everyday daily things that we need, let's kind of put in our minds, this is what I should first look to see if it's available, that it's Black owned. And then if it's not, even, make suggestions. If there are brands that you like and you say, hey, this would be great for you if you did this. Those are the ways that we do it. It's all about community. It's all about conversation. If we don't have the conversation and we don't have the community, then we're not going to get anywhere. And that's pretty much where we're going to leave off with the round table. I don't think we'll have time. We did have a poll that was there, but we can also send the poll to you in your emails. But we have about 15 minutes, and I did want to hear from the audience kind of to end the town hall. So if there were any questions or anyone who had mentioned anything, did you see anything, Kai, of questions or people wanting to make statements?
Let's see, yeah, let's see. There was a question for Carrie. I'm going back in the chat here. I also just wanted to quickly say, to piggyback on what Viva said, if you're looking for products and you don't know where to start, please email info@loveabe. If you're looking for a toothbrush or laundry detergent or a luxury handbag or a 5-star hotel, that is what is in our database. So you don't have to do all the work yourself. Shoot us an email, let us know what you're looking for, and we will let you know. But there was a question for Carrie about, it was from Deborah Williams. And the question is, as a Black artist, how did you promote yourself and break through in the beginning?
So I actually shied away from, you know, putting myself out there because after grad school, you know, life got real. Like, you know, I had these loans and, you know, that I accrued, and I didn't find it was difficult to find a job, you know, right after grad school. And so I took a hiatus to kind of just see, you know, what do I really want to do with my art degree? Because as an artist, you can go in so many different avenues. You can be a commercial artist working for companies like a greeting card company or something like that. You can be a professor, a teacher. You can be a flea market artist. You can be a exhibiting artist. You know, you can go so many different directions. And so I had to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And once I finally got back into it, I was like, you know what? What I did, I scheduled myself an art show. I was like, all right, I don't have any artwork created in the last 5 years, but I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to say I'm going to have an art show. I found a team of people who supported that idea and wanted to help me bring the idea to life. And I gave myself a deadline. I was like, all right, I got 3 weeks to produce some new artwork. All right, my name, your brand is everything, and I didn't want to mess up my name, so I put myself out there. Then I created the artwork, and then I had my debut show. And from me having a debut show, and having a consistent body of artwork, things just started to open up from there. So at that point, for that debut show, I had about 15 pieces, and so I had a portfolio. It's, you know, as an artist, you have to have a portfolio. People want to see what work you've done, you know, what recent work you've done. So from there, things just started opening up. I exhibited at the Howard Theater, and then I started doing a bunch of other different shows, and I haven't stopped since. So that's kind of how I got myself out there. I just had to just put myself out there and be bold.
That's awesome. I did want to open it up since we're counting down. I was told that you can actually, if you're in the audience, you can unmute yourself. And so you don't have to turn your camera on per se, but if you did have a question or if you wanted to make a statement, again, this is as if we're in a town hall, you know, out in your community. So we want to hear your voice. So if you're able to unmute yourself, everyone not run to the mic, but if you can and you have a comment, just go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll listen to what you have to say. And we only have about 5 minutes left on the call, 5 or 10 minutes. So if you have something to say, just let us know. Okay, let's see. So I don't know, is there any other comments that are out there that's on the chat? Any other questions, Kai, that anyone in the audience asked?
Yeah, I see another question about resources for Black entrepreneurs. And Tarina Nicole Hill says that after 12 years of being in business, I belong to white business orgs, or quote, white business orgs that have in-person events, and often I'm one of the only Black people, so it would be great to attend Black business events. Tarina, I'm not sure where you are, but again, I can speak to Oakland. There's another amazing organization called Just Be, which is also in my piece, and they have created a space for Black women entrepreneurs to uplift each other and support each other, and also to network. And these are my resources because I'm here in Oakland, but I would also encourage you to, you can start small. You can create these types of events as well. so that you at least have something wherever you are. So I would definitely, encourage people to be open to networking. Don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to just reach out to someone on social media and say, I love your stuff so much. How can we be friends? You can do it virtually as well. So I would offer
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone else had any questions or could jump on. But I think Rebecca, if you're still on, if you had any, Rebecca, we wanted to also highlight her. She is a Howard graduate, 2020. So she graduated virtually, and she's been helping us throughout this whole project. And I just wanted to say she's been doing a phenomenal job on our end. So Rebecca, was there any thing you wanted to add? She's a Generation Z is what they say. So she represents that. And, and we even have to listen to those who are in their teenage years or early 20s. They're a part of the conversation as well. They can vote as well. So that was the thing. So anything you had to say, Rebecca?
Just really quick. I think this was really great. I've always supported Black businesses. My parents and my whole family, that was always a principle growing up. The one thing I never considered was the production part of being a Black business owner. So I've expressed this to all my friends and family, we have to be more mindful about the way we do business with Black businesses. And we have to not just support them by buying, but we also have to, like Kai said, understand that they're humans at the end of the day, and that Black businesses are already 2 steps behind in comparison to their counterparts of the other races. So it's just good to hear from consumer standpoint what we can do to not just patron Black businesses, but make sure that they're sustainable.
Thank you for that. And again, just across the board, we're going to kind of, end it out. But I want to make sure that there's handouts that we have in your chat. Download those. That's the information that you really want to take with you. The article that, Kai wrote about the Black economy, and she was talking about the facts. All of those facts are in there. We need to educate ourselves. First and foremost, education is a tool. Education is a weapon. And if we don't use it correctly, or even, put it in our gear to move forward, we're not going to have that weapon to use when bigger things begin to happen. And also, there is a survey at the end. So I want to make sure that you do the survey as soon as we click out of this is a survey. Please, 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 because, we didn't hear from all of you tonight. We didn't hear your voices and opinions. So we want to make sure when you do the survey, and it's not about the survey about how we did. It's really more about the survey is what do you want us to do next? And if you don't have a voice in the conversation and you don't have ideas, you're going to allow everyone to make that decision for you. So make sure you do that. And also, we're going to present to you a 6 necessities PDF. It's just going to lay out a tool for you of 6 things that you can actually do to be progressive. Not the simple old things that you've been hearing to be progressive, but actual actionable items, that you can use to really start this conversation. And so we're also going to make sure that you follow, before we wrap up, Kai is going to say something, but I want everyone, all of the panelists, please put your social media information there so that everybody can hit you up. You can put it in the sticky note, or you can just drop it in the chat. Make sure your social media information is there. And I'm going to say peace out. I'm going to give Kai the floor because I know we don't have much. I want to say, again, thank you to everyone who has joined. This is just the beginning. Whatever information we gave you, I hope it was at least for you to whet your palate and to get you into the next level. We're going to have also a group that we're creating, an actual group that we can do digitally, virtually online, for us to have a bulletin of things that are happening. So stay tuned for that. Make sure that you follow all of us to not miss out on bulletin things that we'll have to educate the community, and also start a group outside of just the webinars, but for us to talk on a daily basis. Kai, do you have any last words?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, you know, the biggest hope for this conversation was for us to collectively design solutions as well. So please reach out to us. My website is there. I'll put my email here as well. If there was something that you felt like we didn't cover, please email us. Like email me, email Viva, let us know so that we can really continue to build and design this conversation and have it be really useful for everyone involved. Because it's easier for us to create solutions, and it's better for us when we actually know what it is that people need and what they're looking for. And both of us, I think, you know, I can speak for Viva as well. The basis of our business really is to uplift and be supportive and to help people do that on both sides. So you help us when you let us know what you need and what you're looking for, and also ask us questions, and we'll do our best to answer them and to get you the information that you need. So
Yeah.
reach out.
And I'll do a shameless plug as well. With HAVENOUS, we are a platform, again, that is a home shopping network. We're working on retail media for creating a Black-owned home shopping channel. And so that resources are needed, you know, participation is needed. Both Carrie and Nikki were a part. They've been, you know, partnered with us before. We want to be able to capture your product in a way that's not seen, you know, all across the board, and be able to really build a channel that we can have a platform that people can view, shop, enjoy, get culture, you know, get our language and how we kind of make everything that we do beautiful. So that's HAVENOUS. If you're interested, that's in the survey as well. Make sure that you fill that out. And so we're going to say, we have 3 minutes left, but we don't want to get cut off. We're going to say, have a good night. Just like Kai stated, make sure that you let us know what we can do. If we did not cover something tonight, which is hard to cover everything, send us a message, DM us, email us, put it in the survey, however, text me. If you have my number, let me know so that we can make sure that we cover it. And if it's not in a webinar platform, it could be in a way, or it could be in a way that we can address it on another kind of platform. So have a good night. And I've enjoyed your company for this evening. And I hope that all of you stay blessed, stay well, and continue to be prosperous, and continue to cycle that Black dollar into our community. Be conscious about it. All right. Good night.